Should have changed my banner. It's not 8:30 Mountain. It's 10 o'clock Mountain. We had to change the time today. Welcome, everybody, to the best damn business show for medium and small businesses on the planet. We're live on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, X, Instagram on August 30th. You ready for your blog weekend? What the week it's been? I am ready. We have a special guest today. I'm very excited, which is why we're at a special time, because our special guest is in a different time zone. So we had to accommodate that. So yesterday, lots of engagement from the show yesterday. Engagement, so we do the show and it broadcasts or live streams onto the various platforms that I just told you about. But then what happens is the team takes these shows and they cut it up into little 1 minute, sub 1 minute segments, and they put it out on Instagram stories and YouTube shorts and TikToks, and that generates a lot of conversation. And there was a couple of topics yesterday that we had a lot of conversation about. One of them was the capital gains tax. No, it wasn't about Kamala Harris, but it was about the capital gains tax, the unrealized capital gains tax policies. And people were arguing. We had one comment that capital gains doesn't happen unless you sell something. No, that's the whole point of an unrealized capital gains. You have tax on your investment, on your asset, but you didn't actually sell it, but it grew theoretically because someone told you it was worth more this year than last year, and now you have to pay tax, a 25% tax, we think, on this asset growth, but you didn't sell it, so you don't have any money. That's what this is. It's a unrealized, i.e., you did not sell the damn thing, tax. So what does that do to the economy? It kills it, obviously, and it's likely to drive the American economy into a significant economic retraction. Having said that, this will never happen. It's not constitutional, I don't think. I'm no constitutional lecturer, but it also just wouldn't pass. Like, nobody's going to vote for that in the House. So this is all just a theoretical, scary conversation. And I think you have already seen some of the Democrats come back and say, yeah, but that would never happen. That's just a talking point. So who the hell knows? Anyways, the unrealized part, it doesn't happen anywhere in the world. And you don't have to sell the asset. That's the entire point of being unrealized. I've also heard arguments, just as an aside, from Dems that we've already have an unrealized capital gains tax on real estate. It's called a property tax. That's idiotic. That's not what a property tax is at all. Property tax is a use tax. It's they look at the value of the property, yes, but it's a taxation that's a little teeny percentage of the property, not the change of the value of the property, but of the property itself whenever it's been assessed, and it takes a little bit of money from that value for schools or whatever. It is a use tax. So it's not the same thing at all. Don't be a twit on that front. Other topic of conversation is I made a strong comment yesterday that the black market cannabis in Canada, hang on one second here. We seem to have volume off on Instagram, so I'm glad I caught that and fixed it. I don't know why that is. The black market cannabis in Canada has beaten the legal regime. Like it's over. The legal regime has lost. Black market has taken over. And as it turns out, I don't know who would have thought. I have a lot of passionate cannabis followers on my various platforms. I didn't know that. someone made a comment, black market is true capitalism. Everybody was cheering, and black market is true capitalism. Come on. Come on. This isn't Nom. There's rules. There's rules. Not even ardent capitalists want unregulated capitalism. There has to be some sort of balance. The whole point of government is to provide a balance of regulation between the inevitable concentration of success and power that happens under unbridled capitalism and the needs of society. That's what regulation is. That is a legit role for government, in my view. Nobody wants unbridled capitalism. Nobody wants regulation-free capitalism. And the smaller the market is, by the way, like Canada, the more important that is to find that exact balance. Why? Because the market's not big enough to figure it out on its own. You just immediately go to someone controlling and having all the wealth and all the power. It's like a penny stock. It's like a penny stock. You need a market maker on that. Little side story. I was, before legalization in Canada, I was having breakfast with one of the political leaders. I was at the Chateau Laurier in Ottawa, having breakfast, which I almost never do, with one of the current political leaders of one of the national parties. I won't tell you why, out of respect and privacy, but this leader voted against the legalization rules for cannabis. And I said, come on, why would you vote against that? And he looked at me and he said, because the regulations are insane. It's way over-regulated. It is way overtaxed. This will never work. Well, turns out that he was right. Wall Street Journal article yesterday. We talked about Kamala Harris in the big interview last night. Wall Street Journal yesterday on Kamala Harris. While we were worrying about unrealized capital gains tax, this article says inside Kamala Harris's LA lifestyle, Soul Cycle, Hollywood parties, annoyed neighbors. Kamala Harris has a busy Sunday. And by the way, I don't think there was any point to this article at all other than to say she's not one of the people and to hurt her in middle America. That's what I think the point of this article is. But it says that after jet setting back from an event for Latino voters in Las Vegas last March, Harris tried retire to the home she shares with her husband in Brentwood. Then it was off to an Oscar party thrown by Hollywood power agent Brian Leward. Allows her to mingle with media moguls Barry Diller, celebrity CEOs Bob Iger and Julia Roberts. A long weekend in Los Angeles, one that combines time at home, A-list socializing, small dose of campaigning is an itinerary that Harris knows very well. Since she was inaugurated, Harris has been in Los Angeles more than any other location outside of Washington, according to the Wall Street Journal analysis of her daily schedules. Let me tell you something. If the Wall Street Journal is not analyzing your daily schedules and keeping a record of how often you've been here or there, well, you just haven't made it in life, my friends. In 2023 alone, she spent 59 days in the city, traveling every month. But now the neighbors are not happy with this because they have snaking, motorcade, paralysis, the traffic. Secret Service agents tried to look inconspicuous, and they loitered her outside the local Goop store. So with that, Eric, I have two questions for you coming out of that. And one would be, when you're kicking around Brentwood, is Kamala upsetting you and disrupting your flow? And secondly, what the hell is a Goop store? Can we?
Goop store? I don't know. But Kamala, as far as politics, I don't get too much into politics because that's a touchy topic right there.
Yeah, we don't talk about politics on this show. We don't take positions, and we talk about politics in the sense of policy and how it relates to business and us making money and being successful or not. And I do have a question coming up on that for you, but I do want to say welcome to Mornings with Scott. Eric, Dr. Dapper. Eric Jones has become one of the most influential entrepreneurs of his time. He founded the Outlet LA, which is a rapidly expanding nightlife and hospitality consulting agency that specializes in boosting revenue and brand visibility for hotels, lounges, venues through implementing innovative strategies. And I do think that he's been very successful at this, which is why I am excited to talk to him. The outlet LA is also very well known for curating sophisticated upscale social events in Los Angeles. And from his social media, those events look pretty cool. I've actually tried to attend one every now and then, but schedules have never aligned. The company was founded in 2020 as a way to fulfill the desire for more upscale social experience and concepts in the city. Anything else to add to that, Eric? Have I introduced you?
You've introduced me, and now it's funny because I'm moving into a whole new chapter of Dr. Dapper and Outlet. As you see, I put Outlet Tech here, and you know, now to be able to go from fashion to hospitality to now even deeper into hospitality, being in hospitality and business consulting, as well as hospitality and human connection focused technology. This new journey, this new chapter, well, this journey in general, and this new chapter is very exciting. It's very, very exciting.
That's great. I'm going to ask you about that journey in a minute, but before we do, I want to ask you about LA, which is where you are. Mm-hmm. And this, again, is going to sound like a political question, but it's not, because we don't do politics here. But when I listen to the news, any news, could be on any side of the political spectrum, it just sounds like California and LA specifically are in a really tough spot. There's a litany of social issues. Businesses are moving out to more friendly jurisdiction. They're worried about tax. They're worried about regulation. They're worried about public safety. They're worried about drugs, employees raising their family. This is in the news. I'm not saying this is reality. I'm just saying this is what you hear in the news. And from a distance, you just picture in your head this dystopian kind of society. But I was there last March. I was in LA. It was fantastic. It was absolutely amazing. The energy was great. I was fearful from all of this built-up mind washing coming into the city, and then I was like, "Oh, this is so cool." We had a blast there, and so you are weaved into the culture, or some part of the culture, in Los Angeles. You're an entrepreneur. When we talk about your journey, you're going to tell us you really came from not much to build your life in LA. What is your perspective on doing business as a solopreneur, entrepreneur, small business heading to mid-market size business right now?
You know, when it pertains to the image, it's similar to Africa. You know, I've never been to Africa, but I know people that have been to Africa, but the image that's portrayed on a certain area in the media can be very skewed. And I think LA is so, one, overly populated. So there's a lot of people. So maybe there's an agenda to like, hey, you don't need to come here. This isn't where you need to be. And then there's probably a portion that like, let's price people out, because it's not that you can't make it in LA, but they'll make it tough for you to actually live and thrive and survive in LA. And then there's another component of it to where the media has made these things that happen every now and then that might never happen in our life. They put them in front of us over and over again, and it makes it feel like
and make you believe it's true, right?
And it can happen to us tomorrow. Like if somebody gets murdered in LA, it's like the Citizens app. Have you ever heard of the Citizens app?
Yes, I haven't heard of that.
That can scare the shit out of you and make you feel like, oh shit, I don't want to go outside, or LA is terrible. And the whole time, the
Citizens app is like some sort of massive WhatsApp group where you're reporting things that you saw and crimes,
live videos and all that kind of shit. So yeah. And it's like 2 feet away, someone just got stabbed, and it's like, oh shit, like I need to. And the whole time, it's like the likelihood of that happening to you is very rare. So me personally, I love LA. I feel like LA is what you make it, just like anywhere else. And I think people can. It's a place where you can't come not knowing yourself and then trying to find yourself. And it's a place you also can't come if you know yourself, but you're afraid to be yourself. Because in both instances, you end up going into the wrong direction and becoming someone you shouldn't be, or you're naturally not, because you attracted the wrong people, because you weren't giving off.
That's really wise. I spent some time in LA in my early professional career. I was, I think I was in my mid-20s, and I wasn't making any money, but I was on a full expense account, and I was doing the restructuring of Mark Burrow Properties, which was the second largest residential developer in the state at the time, and we were headquartered at Newport Beach. So they put me up in a nice hotel in Newport Beach, and I had a full expense account, and I would wander into LA on weekends. And exactly what you said. I mean, I was myself, and I was confident, so I didn't have those problems. But to me, the whole city was just live theater. You could just watch people try to figure themselves out. It was fascinating. It was great. I've loved LA ever since.
Yeah, LA is beautiful, man, and it's definitely live theater. You got so many actors here. You have so many facades.
Yeah.
So many people trying to portray themselves as something that they're not, and that's where people go down the spiral of not really.
Yeah. Eric, I don't normally like to have guests and talk about journey and background, and but you in particular really seems to me lean into your journey and where you've come from, and you use it, I think, really effectively. And I think it is it's an inspirational story. Maybe that's not the right word, but it's it's certainly a fascinating story, and it's worth sharing. Can you, as much as you're comfortable, do you just want to bring the audience up to speed on that?
Yeah, I'm like an open book for real. So if you have specific questions about anything, but I guess I'll touch on the biggest parts of my journey. Really losing the people I've lost. I lost my grandma in 2010, my dad in 2013, and my mom in 2016. All of them 3 years apart, and all at very pivotal points in my life. My grandma raised me and helped my mom take care of me when I was a kid. Grew up rats, roaches, holes in the walls, and that gradually got better when my mom married my stepdad. But my childhood was more so filled with my days were school, work, and home to take care of my grandma. So I don't really remember or recall extremely happy moments or when I was like really just enjoying being a child.
And that was not in LA. I think that's
it's Arkansas. I should have said that. I'm from Arkansas. Yeah. Born and raised in Arkansas. It's Helena, Arkansas. It's a very, very small town in the Delta, right next to Mississippi, the Mississippi River. And went to school in Fayetteville, University of Arkansas, Razorbacks. And in school, my dad passed a couple weeks before I got to college, and I was at an early access program. I had to go back home for that. And then by my junior year of college, I had a vision to start a dress shoe company because I majored in fashion, and that became my first business that I started. And I never really could keep a job, but I also never knew what entrepreneurship was. I didn't know how to spell it. I didn't know what it meant. I didn't know it was a thing. And coming from where I'm from, we just see the streets, rap and sports as the ways to get out of where we are. So. Started that company. My mom helped me start it before she passed. She passed a few weeks before I graduated college. And then I went full time into that because that was the last thing she saw me doing. And she really sacrificed and invested in that for me to have something, So it was like everybody was passing a baton on a different in my life. And went full time into that, stayed in Arkansas for 3 years, built it a little bit, lost some money, made some bad orders of shoes, got to LA in 2019. Soon after that, COVID hit, and nobody was buying shoes. Everybody was buying tissue, if you can remember that. So I was like,
we're going to run out of toilet paper.
Yeah, I got to pivot. I got to do something. So, and being in LA, my rent was $900 in Arkansas. I moved here, $2,500 was the rent for my first apartment. And I was supposed to have a roommate, didn't even have a roommate. That fell through. And so I had to figure out life, quote unquote, on my own.
Yeah.
From jump, stepping into adulthood. And that's how it's been ever since. Every time I hit a new low, it's because I hit a new high, and my previous ceiling became my new floor. And it's a whole new approach to life. And, the journey in LA has been up and down, but it's similar to a stock chart. If you look at stocks, you got those little spikes in the middle, but it's a trend, and you got to zoom out sometimes to really be conscious.
It has a positive regression line.
Yeah, and you got to zoom out to see that you're actually moving in the right direction. So moved here for fashion. COVID pushed me off into hospitality. Started doing the events because I saw a need for that, and then that's just evolved to where I built an audience of over 50,000 professionals. Did my first acquisition last year they got me into tech, and now I'm focused on hospitality and human connection tech to combat the human connection crisis that we're experiencing.
So let's talk about that. So you did this acquisition. You could explain it. I just looked sort of at the press releases and your posts. And what I understand is you did an acquisition maybe a year ago, but part of what you were doing was evolving that into a new app to support your events and your business called Memberly. And so in my head, you've done an acquisition, which is interesting to small business owners, and you're developing a tech platform for yourself. Can you talk about, first of all, am I right? And second of all, how were those experiences for you?
Yeah, so ETA is an experience discovery platform. So it's its own separate thing. But to answer what you were, or kind of like, I guess, put into perspective what you were saying, I bought it and thought I made a bad investment after we couldn't find anybody to actually work on it and make the changes that we wanted to make to it. But then realized later towards the end of last year, I had another idea for a concept called Memberly, which is a subscription-based platform. And the previous owner of ETA said, oh shit, everything that you want to put in Memberly is for the most part available in ETA. So then I saw value in ETA's code base, because I'm like, okay, the developer we ended up finding was like, we can just split it, optimize it, and utilize that for this other app that you want to build, and also make the changes on.
So why did you buy ETA if it wasn't what you thought it was after you bought it?
I bought it because of my ability to see opportunities that other people can't see. You know, I think that's a really important thing. As I read books a lot now, and they talk a lot about the creative imagination, and then the ability, like, you can see, but a lot of people really can't see. Like, you know, right. we can all see an app, but you can't really see the vision or the future of that. So I met Victor back in 2019, before I was really ramping up doing events for real. And I thought it was a dope platform. I thought it was really needed, knowing the culture of LA and how tough it is to find events and dope things to do in the city if you're visiting or even if you're living here. So fast forward, he was like, I want to sell it. I had some cash. He was going into another venture. So we worked at a good price. I bought it. And then from there, I built up a really good team around it and outlet tech in general. But I bought it initially because I'm in the hospitality space. I know events. I know I got my finger on the pulse of what's happening in the space. I know what Eventbrite's doing wrong. I know where the voids are, the problems, the issues. So yeah, it was just me and my expertise within the hospitality and event curation and human connection space, and seeing the voids, and then seeing the ETA platform as something I could leverage to buy my way into tech, because I feel like you can not have the technical knowledge, and you can find somebody that has that. But if you don't have the wisdom and the expertise within a specific space or niche, then we can't have one without the other. So I realized that, and I bought it, and now I have cocktail bars and lounges on it as well. So we made it a little bit cleaner and offered more value to the platform.
And nobody goes through that type of deal for the first time experience, that type of experience, without running into one or two things that you're just, oh wow, I never even thought about that. So what lessons did you learn?
Have somebody to really be able to look at the code for real. Because when it's like buying a car on like an auction or something, and then you get it and you're like, oh, it looked beautiful on the outside, but then you open up the hood, you're like, oh shit, it's a lot of fucked up stuff under this hood.
So you just kicked the tires.
Yeah, I was like, God, did I make a bad investment? And then my guy Ryan, who became my project manager, he was like, no. You know, it was just the platform. It was so clunky. It has so much stuff that he had like tried to play around with and just had it all just meshed in there. And so that was a learning lesson within that. And then also coming into tech, never been in tech, I didn't understand the timeline of how long it takes to actually take a project from idea to income, or idea, inception. Like, this is actually a thing and we have it out to the market. Like, the go to market, it's been a year. I'm like, yo,
and you thought it was going to be next week.
Type, I'm thinking, oh, we're going to get it. And it's going to be like better than the Squarespace website. And we're going to change the stuff we want to change, take away the stuff we want to take away. And then boom. But it ended up being something where like a surgeon might not want to have to do surgery on your knee because you went to another doctor and they don't know where the specific things might be hidden or what might have been attached where. And they don't want to be liable for something that the previous person messed up on. So it was tough to find the developer team, but I've also learned that it's important. This is my first time doing talent acquisition and organically building a team around a vision or an idea or a concept and giving out equity. So I've learned a lot from equity and just the different terminologies of tech, like waterfall and agile approach, and just so many different things. And
so you're giving out pieces of equity to the talent that you're bringing into work on this project.
Yep. So I have almost 4 tech projects that we're working on under Outlet Tech, and those are going to be the initial projects that we go to market with to build validity and go to the market. It's like, hey, this is Outlet Tech, this is what we do, and this is our team, these are our products. And the goal is to turn Outlet Tech into a VC firm that acquires or develops, scales, and sells human connection and hospitality focused technology projects, whether it's SaaS or it's actual like just user facing.
A VC firm. So you want to go raise money?
I want it to be internally funded by the team. So we'll all have percentages of these first projects, then we'll exit and sell these projects, and then we'll all come back with our cash. And it won't just be sweat equity, it'll be actual cash that we'll put up that'll determine which percentage we own in these different projects. So that's what, and I'm learning about that too. Like, so if you have any recommendations or advice that you've seen from people that have started firms and have a specific.
Well, I'll give you one piece of advice already. Is don't give away too much equity. Because what people do, I've talked about this in my content before, particularly tech people, is they start out and they have 100%, and then they find the partner that they want because they have a need to develop something or a skill set that you don't have, that the entrepreneur doesn't have. And they're like, oh man, yeah, let's have a call. We're going to do this together. This is so exciting. So you get 20%, right? So cool. So the guy gets 20% as the sort of the first guy in. And then you find the next need. So now you got the technologist. Now you need whatever, the sales guy. Like you are the sales branding guy, but in this hypothetical situation, and you bring in, or maybe in your scenario, it's the finance guy or the guy that could structure the future deals or whatever. And so you bring this person in, and you end up giving him 12, 15% somewhere in that range, because you can't give him 20 because the other guy got 20 and this guy's after him, and you can't give him 10 because that's just insulting. And so you end up giving him 15, right? And then you bring in the third guy and he's down to 10. And before you know it, you only started with 100. And right. And you should just, back in the early days of tech, like in the 90s and early 2000s during the tech bubble, you just saw this all the time. And the guy in your shoes gave away way too much stock. And also, Eric had no way to get it back when it didn't work out, because 100% guaranteed it's not going to work out with some of these people. I'm not saying the project won't work out, but this guy's not going to perform. And all of a sudden he owns X% of your company, and there's no shareholders agreement, and there's no way to get it back, or there's no tying of awarding or vesting of the equity to performance, right? There's a million things. So that was, when you were talking about giving out equity to bring people in, I recognize that's the space you're in. That's the expectation. But there's, you don't have the $1 billion in fresh capital to buy your way out of troubles. You have to succeed, and don't give away too much equity.
Yeah, I made sure about that. I still have a lot. I still have I still have a lot, like a whole lot. So I made sure that I kept a good amount and gave everybody, because these super small amounts of equity in and buy into the project.
If it's option awards, if it's tied to performance, that's all cool. I'm not saying don't give away equity. I'm just saying what we used to have. Well, I still do. We have the conversation in that particular situation. We'd say, cool, what do you want to, like, if we just knock this out of the park and this is worth $1 billion down the road or some crazy number, like, what do you want to make out of this? What is your end of this deal? Not in percentage, but in actual dollars. Right? Oh, I want to be worth $100 million. You can back into an option that comes close to that number, and what you'll find is the percentage is really small. That's what you'll find.
Yeah, that's a dope way to do it. Like selling the end versus selling the beginning. Yeah. That's dope.
Right. I want to help you get there.
Yeah.
That's your pitch. Because otherwise it's just like, well, you got 100, I should have 20. This guy got 20, I should have 18. You know, like it's a stupid discussion.
Yeah.
So we're getting to the bottom of the half hour right now, but you've moved from coaching to, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you've moved from branding expertise to coaching to live events, and now into the tech space, and now in the vision, this continued consolidation and VC, as you put it, in hospitality. Have I got that right? Is that bit? And have you dropped the coaching branding work that you were doing for the sector?
No. So yes, yeah. I guess I can add on the front end of that fashion dress shoes, because without the dress shoes, I wouldn't.
That's true.
I wouldn't have any of this for real. So yeah, from fashion to consulting to hospitality and events to tech and hosting. I host a lot of events now. So for other people's events. So I haven't dropped the consulting stuff. It's just evolved. And I think I didn't really understand that there was a hospitality consulting thing or agency or firm that could be formed to assist other people in doing what I've already done and what I know how to do so well. So the Outlet LA's front-facing thing now is becoming more of a hospitality business consulting firm, where I have my one page on my deck and my reviews for my clients, and I send that off, and I have my proposals and things, and that's been going cool. I've had some opportunities to work with some nonprofits and some other stuff in the pipeline for other local organizations to consult with their clients as well as them internally. And then on the flip side is me as a host and this personality that's a vibe orchestrator, I like to call myself, and then tech, But so I've really honed in on this hospitality thing, because as an entrepreneur, you go through so many different phases and chapters and levels of, let me try this, or I should invest in that, or what's next, because you plateau. And if you're like me, your creative imagination is always going, and you're always like solving problems, and you always recognize opportunities. So you're always thinking about ways to continue to grow and evolve. And I think they become more refined over time as you make the mistakes and learn from them. And you start to learn how to have good discernment and really choose different lanes and journeys wisely. Even if those lanes haven't been traveled, you're like, okay, this is one that needs to be traveled, or it's an early stage of traveling starting, and I should jump in this lane real quick. So I'm happy it's all under hospitality. And
cool. Well, I want to say for everybody listening now, or we got, of course, all of our listeners on the recorded version, but when you're listening to this, I don't know, Eric, we've crossed on social media a bunch of times, but the minute I crossed on social media, we were communicating a little bit. I think that was during COVID. It feels like a long time ago now, but I've been following his journey on social, and it's been fun, and it's been impressive, and I cheer for him, and he shares a lot. So if you're interested in that journey of an entrepreneur in LA, check out his stuff. And where would people do that, Dr. Dapper?
You can type it. So as Dr. Dapper is spelled here, you can look up, add the to the front of it. So THE, Dr. Dapper, on any social media platform. Really, I should pop up.
Right. And if you're on the audio version, it's Doctor spelled out, DOCTOR, because I made the mistake of putting DR in for a while there. Anything else you want to talk about, my friend?
I mean, how is your stuff? Your stuff been good? How's your courses? Courses are cool.
Say that again.
So how are your courses? How are your courses going?
All right. Well, thank you for that lead in. So I've developed a course for how to make more money, how to be profitable in your business, and how to raise business capital. And it is a 8-module course, which means 8 videos, 45 minutes to an hour, each one, supporting material. And you can buy it as a complete course, or you can buy it one module at a time if you want to do that. And the first one is released September 15th, and then we'll release one a month thereafter. And it's been an experience, that's for sure, but I'm really excited about it. And for everybody listening, the super duper really cheap pre-sale ends tomorrow. the end of this month. And so there's a link in the notes. Get there. It's never going to be cheaper. It's never going to be cheaper. So now is the time to go do that. The first module, Eric, is about really embracing change and why we resist change. 100% of the time when I walk into a business that needs improvement, that is underperforming, or that is trouble, the one commonality is that the leadership refuses to change. They've got it all sorted. And 100% of successful businesses, I bet you do this all the time, constantly, continuously improve. It's in their value system. They're looking to evolve, to adapt to whatever's coming at them, and they continuous change. And so I present in module 1 a methodology, tools to actually go do that, which include understanding your KPIs, your key performance indicators, how to get different voices around you, like a coaching or a board of advisors, because you need to change your perspectives and break through your confirmation bias, which is you're already doing everything you can, because other people have a different view on that. Listening to your employees and your stakeholders around you, and what I call a listening tour, and A/B testing, not in the marketing in your world sense, but A/B testing everything operationally. When I do this, is this working well, and how does that impact my key performance indicators? So that's module 1, and there's a lot more to come.
Jam-packed. Y'all better get into it. Get into it.
Thank you for asking that. Thank you, everybody. Hey, listen, there is no show on Monday, it being Labor Day weekend, and we will back to our regular time on Tuesdays. We just shifted the time on this to accommodate Eric, who's on the West Coast, and so I think that works out okay. We'll do that for future guests in the future as well. Thank you much for joining us, Dr. Dapper. We'll see you all next week.